So I want to make this quick responsive video to this gentleman here.
The secret things belong to Yahweh our God, but the things that are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. It's always nice to keep a little bit of mystery, a little bit of a his ways are higher there, a little bit of a, you got to do the things that you're told to do, and if you're confused by them, don't ask too many questions, because the secret things belong to Yahweh. This is Cult 101. I don't know if I use this one right, but it's like a secret knowledge fallacy, where it's like, you're not allowed to know this, but there's secret information that will make this argument make sense. The whole cult is that. Any his ways or higher thing is just like, you don't need to know this. It's above your pay grade. Which is none, which is you pay us grade. So don't ask questions. Please don't try to know anything.
I am very glad that people like him exist. They're very concerned for Christians. They want to make sure we're not being manipulated. We're not in a cult. So I'm just glad he's here to kind of guide us and hold our hands. So just kidding, but I do want to take a serious response and consider what he's saying here and respond to it. So basically, the idea here is this gentleman is presuming the worst about God. He's thinking, hey, if human beings have a presumptive right to know things, we have a right to know things, and God is not fulfilling that. He's not filling us in on, and he's not giving us knowledge about what he's doing. Deuteronomy 29:29, it says the secret things belong to the Lord, but we have a presumptive right to know what those secret things are at any time. And the fact that God doesn't do this is indicative that God is probably trying to manipulate us. He's trying to control us or something to that effect. Now this gentleman is welcome to believe that if he wants, but he's an atheist, I guess, and we are not atheists. Christians, we are not atheists. We don't come into with that presumption. We don't assume that God has no reasons to withhold information. We don't assume that God's character is deficient, to where the only possible reason he would withhold something from us is because he's trying to manipulate or control us. We don't come in with that presumption at all. We come in with the presumption that God is good. And even in times where he's not giving you details, not giving you information, we still trust in his character that he's got good reasons for this. And here's the thing, humans do this all the time. There are many situations where humans will withhold information for the good of the other person. For example, a parent with cancer, they might tell their young child, hey, mom's sick, but the doctors are helping. They're not trying to deceive, they're not trying to manipulate, but they're trying to protect their child from fear that they can't bear yet. Maybe they don't need to know this information right now. It might be worse if you tell them. Another scenario could be where a doctor may not explain every detail of a risky procedure to you as an adult. And the reason they withhold this information, which in a technical sense you do have a right to it, but the reason they're withholding this information is because it's to eliminate unnecessary panic in you. And there's a lot of things like that. Sometimes a process has to play out. I read a lot of stuff about special forces and military veterans and things like that. When you read some of these, when you listen to some of these stories, when they go to Special Forces selection, in particular Delta Force, there is one of their key tests is the land navigation test. They basically tell them you need to navigate through this terrain, through this mountainous terrain. You have X amount of time to do it, and they don't tell them anything else. They withhold tons of information from them. And the reason they do this is because a process has to play out here. This is part of this is part of the process to determine whether these guys can function in high stress environments. It's part of the process to see if they can function with little to no guidance. Because when they're in war, that's what often happens. They're going to have to make their own decisions. They may not have contact with people in the higher-ups and anything like that. So this is part of the process. And they are 100% withholding information from them. Does that mean they're doing it to be manipulative, to control them? No, it's part of the process. And as Christians, we would argue, just like another example is sort of at the end of in Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, there is a point in the movie where Tony Stark and Doctor Strange are having a conversation, and Doctor Strange knows the only possible outcome of whether they can beat Thanos, the only possible scenario where they can defeat Thanos. He doesn't disclose this to anybody, and Tony Stark wants to know this. And when they get to the to Endgame and everything's hitting a fan, he says something to Doctor Strange about, is this the world? Is this the scenario? Do we win? And Doctor Strange says, if I tell you, it's not going to happen. Now we can leave that up for grabs as like, what does that mean? But there is a reason that Doctor Strange withholds this information, and it's for a greater good. It's not to manipulate Tony Stark. It's not to do anything like that. It's for the greater good. It's for the good that perhaps if Tony Stark knew about this, he wouldn't cooperate. Maybe he'd go in a different direction. Sometimes it's better for us not to know. And it doesn't always entail a manipulation going on. It doesn't always entail something nefarious like this gentleman seems to want to argue. So all that to say, we simply don't come to the table with the same presumptions as this guy. This guy thinks it's all a joke. He thinks Christians we're just gullible idiots, apparently. We've bought into a cult, and he's here to rescue us. And, the only possible reason God could withhold information from us, a good God, mind you, is because it's manipulative. That's the only possible reason. But I've shown you several counterexamples where even humans have good reasons to withhold information. How much more the living God?